what are some common misconceptions about the admission officers and the admissions process? I know, myself included, the college admissions process is very confusing for a lot of students. And so there's some misconceptions out there. What are some misconceptions? I'll go to Matt first.
So I'll start with the answer that we should start every answer in all of college admissions with: it varies or it depends. From school to school, from year to year, things change, and this panel is a great example of that. We're fairly close schools overall, and we have different answers to a lot of things. And so you as students, once you've made your list of schools you're interested in, you're thinking about, I would keep a detailed list of the questions you want to ask and ask each of us, the college admissions officers. We're happy to tell you what we do at our school and how it might be different from other places. But so I think misconceptions are, I heard that so-and-so doesn't need SAT scores, but Georgia does, or Florida does. That's true this year. And so some of those misconceptions just come from the variation across the many institutions that you might be looking at. The only other thing I would say is that we're admissions officers, right? We want to find reasons to admit students to our school. We're not denial officers. Even at highly selective institutions, we're looking for reasons to admit you, and we want to find those. So like Joe was saying, if you put the things in the application for us to find, we're going to try and find them.
Awesome. Let's go to Janessa.
I echo what Matt mentioned. We are looking for reasons to admit rather than reasons to deny. And that positive advocacy is just so incredibly important to remember with us as admissions officers and admissions offices, but also as humans. I know I keep going back to that, but there's a live person on the other side of this process as well. And that connection is also really important. Not to say that we all have to connect in all the same ways, but allowing us to get to see that human part of you is also really helpful as we are making these decisions, as we're building the class, as my colleague Jua mentioned. So I will also say, and I mentioned this earlier, we are also your resource. So yes, many of us are evaluating applications coming from our regions, as we've mentioned, but we are also your resource, and we want you to be as empowered and as informed throughout this process as much as possible. We want you to end up where you want to be at the end of the day. We want you to come to us, but we want you to end up where you want to be. So just know that we want to help you get to that end goal.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Jua.
I'm going to, follow suit with all of our answers. I'm going to completely echo exactly what Matt said and Janessa. We are definitely looking for ways to admit you, not the other way around. And I think that's hard to convey, especially when you're dealing with selective admissions, and we can only admit a certain amount of students, which is the difficult part of our jobs. And it's a part I know I don't like denying a student, because again, I know you do extremely well on our campus, but there are a lot of things that we have priorities per institution every single year, and they may change and you have no control over that. But to Janessa's point, also understanding that if you're doing your job as students, you will end up where you're supposed to be. That is a given. And it's not all about my institution as well. We are representatives for higher education. If this is your goal and what you want to do, we will help you through that. So very much that part in that this is a human process, which we've said before. This is not taking an application and sticking it in a machine and some kind of algorithm we put in and like shoot it out to say, yeah, you're admitted or you're not. This is a human process. We actually read your applications and have a chance to get to know you through the process. So please remember, this is a human process in that. And also, I will say this, I'll add a little throwback in, I'll throw it out there, and every school is very different. Even those schools who value demonstrated interest, if you email me every day, that will not make a difference in you being admitted. It's not going to increase your chances. And I say that. Periodic check-ins and on our communication, I love it. That is fine. But you do not need to email me every single day. That's extra. That's a little too much, all right? But periodic check-ins, that is more than okay. And I do think that's also something important to note about what is what is valid and effective demonstrated interest and what is not. You all have a lot on your plates, and we don't want you having to do a whole bunch of extra stuff. That's not going to make a difference in your admissions in any of at our respective institutions. So just knowing the effective way to go about that process as well, I think makes a big difference in, I think, a misconception that students think they have to do sometimes.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much. Let's go to Mary.
Everything that everyone has already said is absolutely correct. I'm going to add something about the misconception of a well-rounded applicant. Colleges are trying to create a well-rounded class. So you as an applicant can be as pointy as you want to be, or a dodecahedron, or a trapezoid. Whatever you're interested in is totally fine with us. We want to know about it, whether it's hobbies or extracurriculars, a part-time job, if you have family responsibilities. All of those contribute to your application. And that well-rounded myth, it's a well-rounded class, but you as a person, as long as you're doing some things that are important to you, that you find valuable and meaningful in your life, that's well-rounded enough. You don't have to try to do all of the things all the time.
Yeah, and to Mary's point, I'd like to add to that. When I think of well-rounded, I think back to the student panel last year with a Boston University student. He said, no one is telling you to be well-rounded except your parents. So there's this common misconception that being well-rounded will automatically gain you entry into UC Berkeley or any of these schools. And another common misconception I want to kind of talk about is a lot of students think that they need some certain extracurricular or statistic that'll get them in. And that's simply not true, right? A lot of students in the past student panels have asked, what extracurriculars do you have? And the students kind of, or the college students kind of talk about their extracurriculars that brought them into the college. And so just because those students did those extracurriculars, it doesn't mean that extracurricular is not a lottery ticket or an automatic entry into Harvard. Just because he did band doesn't mean you do band.